No, my father didn't fight in the wars. He was a navigator on a spice freighter.
That's what your uncle told you. He didn't hold with your father's ideals, thought he should have stayed here and not gotten involved.
You fought in the Clone Wars?
Yes. I was once a Jedi Knight, the same as your father.
Welcome to Live Action Star Wars. I'm Ralph.
I'm James.
And today we are talking about Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. 2002.
2002, what a time.
It looks every bit 2002.
I mean, it looks every bit 1995, if you ask me.
Okay, so I don't know.
This is a movie.
Here's the thing. A lot of people would put this at the bottom of their list if they're ranking the films. In fact, I would say probably the majority of Star Wars fans would.
It's the bottom of mine.
For me, it could be. I don't know. But the problem is I love this movie. I love this movie. There's so much to love about it. And it's tough to say. When people ask me like what's my least favorite Star Wars movie, I just tell them that The Last Jedi is the one I've seen the least.
Fair enough.
Doesn't mean I hate it. Doesn't mean it's like it I don't know where it falls in the ranks. Like for me, I think for ranking it's like Star Wars, Empire, Solo, Jedi.
Cool.
Like those are pretty much set in stone. The rest can fluctuate based on my mood.
I mean, for me, like I think all of the sequel trilogy is still too like fresh in the mind, still too close to be able to officially like put it in. And even like all of them, like I was thinking about the original trilogy the other day because someone asked me, it's like, what's your favorite Star Wars movie? And I was like, it really just depends on the day of the week. It could be at any day. It could be any of the original trilogy.
Yeah, mine is always Star Wars. I lived so long with those three movies only.
Yeah.
That was always my favorite of the three. Yeah. That'll probably
generally now I think I've got to a point where I'm happy saying that it's mine, like most of the time. But there is an argument for both of the other two as well.
Right. And then
there are moments in each of the other two that I think are better than anything in Star Wars, but Star Wars from start to finish is perfection.
I find that when I want to just put on a Star Wars, I keep gravitating towards the prequel trilogy.
Yeah, you've definitely been doing it for a while now.
Yeah, and I think it's because George packed it with so much shit that you're always seeing something. It was funny. We started watching this Attack of the Clones, me and my wife, and every time we watch the prequels, we start talking stuff out, and it's like, oh. And this time she's like, why is Palpatine so bent on building this army? And then she like starts working. Oh yeah, duh, because he's trying to take over the galaxy. And the thing is, like, a lot of the sort of like political shit that people don't like about the prequels
is interesting.
It seems super relevant right now, and it's scary relevant right now.
Yeah.
And
so you saying that about the prequels generating more of a conversation, I completely agree with. It does for me too. And I think there's elements of it. There's the fact that the original trilogy has been talked to death. Everything that needs to be said about those movies has been said. I don't think anyone's coming in with a new take at any point now with any of those. The sequel stuff has been relevant, so it's been on the top of everyone's mind. Everyone's been talking about it for the last 8 years, 7 years. So that's been relevant consistently now for the last nearly decade. The prequels, other than the memes, have been just sort of this thing that has been there, and it's been growing again, I think. Right. And it's because it's still being unpacked. I think, like, everything that George wanted to do with it, they feel more unfinished than he claimed the original trilogy ever was, because he had so much more there that it is still being unpacked through Filoni, mostly, I think, in the animated stuff. Like, it's the Clone Wars, I feel like, is become, the more I've watched the Clone Wars, and I've gone back through it, like in the last year, I've gone back through the whole lot. I almost feels like it's essential viewing to really appreciate the prequel trilogy. It definitely has made my appreciation of it a lot higher.
Right.
This movie in particular.
I went through Clone Wars, and it's not for me. And it's one of the reasons why this is live action Star Wars, because I wanted to cover I want to cover Star Wars shows and movies and stuff like that. But it doesn't mean I haven't been watching like Bad Batch. Yeah. And both Bad Batch, Mandalorian, and Rise of Skywalker have this weird sort of connective tissue with Camino.
Yeah.
And cloning. And I love it so much. I love it. What they're doing, like, not a lot of people, I don't run around in Bad Batch circles, but there was a scene in the and I can't believe I'm talking about a cartoon right now. There's a scene in the
it's against our mandate.
But there's a scene in the first episode, in the pilot episode, where everybody is leaving, like the Bad Batch are leaving the Camino, and as they're leaving the spaceport, they're bringing in a dead Jedi, who drops their lightsaber there.
Yeah.
So it's a nice shorthand, like it faster, more intense shorthand. I love when Star Wars just throws stuff out there, but I don't know a lot of people talking about, like, the Kaminoans are definitely gathering Jedi midichlorian cells for cloning.
Yeah.
We've also, in a later episode,
after the pilot, but they've forgotten about it now. Like, the topics of conversation seem to have moved on from it.
In the Mandalorian, there you have the whole thing with Grogu being the same age as Anakin.
Yep.
And the Dr. Pershing has the Camino patch on his arm.
Yep.
So since Anakin's been alive, Grogu's been alive, and Kaminoans have been doing shit with Jedi cells. And
possibly been all of their technology might have been co-opted. There's a prevailing theory with that show that we're going to see the Kaminoans sort of try and revolt against the Empire and get wiped out. So their work will then be adopted by probably a science division of the Empire.
Right. And we have also, in a later episode of Bad Batch, what appears to be a Snoke-like image inside a tank that we saw in Rise of Skywalker, where it was definitely Snoke in tank. Yeah, and Mandalorian. Yeah. So what's fun is, I know a lot of people hate The Rise of Skywalker. I know a lot of people hate Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. These are both movies that I very, very much enjoy, and I'm glad that so much time in the last year and a half have been devoted to bridging those two movies together, and it's very, very exciting to me. I'll tell you another thing. I was thinking about this movie before I watched it and why I like it so much. I think on the last episode I mentioned something about finally getting to see the Jedi as an army fighting the droids and stuff. A lot of this movie ticks off a lot of the Star Wars boxes for me that Episode 1 didn't.
Okay, like what?
So
what have we got?
So before Episode 1 came out, we all found out that Samuel L. Jackson was going to play a Jedi Knight.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "Holy shit! Okay, here we go.
Ass. Yeah.
He's gonna kick ass," and he didn't. He sat in the chair the whole time. In this movie, he gets the one-liner. He gets the the action. He cuts off a dude's head. It's like, okay, Samuel Jackson.
And he does it with like his like Sam Jackson scowl on his face. Like he goes hard.
Right. I also feel like the only thing in Episode 1 that feels connected to the original trilogy is R2-D2.
Yep.
Is in it. And that's it. C-3PO doesn't look like C-3PO.
And his memory erased, so he's essentially a new character. Yeah.
We go to a different Tatooine. There's just something about episode 1, like it's a different Obi-Wan. It doesn't feel like classic trilogy. Episode 2, we get C-3PO in his body.
Yeah.
We get the Lars Homestead. We get Yoda looks more like a classic Yoda than that episode 1 puppet Yoda. It didn't feel right. No. And so at the time I'm like, episode 1 doesn't feel right. And so for me, episode 2 felt more right to me.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think this movie has really, really good design work. Both visually and sound design. This might be the best sound design of a Star Wars movie. There's an argument to be made.
I have an issue.
Oh, go for it.
The score is my least favorite score.
Yeah,
and mostly it's not the fault of John Williams. The problem is his production was behind. The whole last reel is comprised of music from episode 1.
Yeah.
And there's like definitely like needle drops from other Star Wars movies. Especially like obviously Duel of Fates, but like when they arrive to Geonosis
March as well. Like in
the droid factory sequence, we hear Yoda's theme, which isn't unheard of. We've heard Yoda's theme on Cloud City during an action scene, but sound design, yes. Score, it's my least favorite score.
I'd agree with that. Other than Across the Stars, it's just not. There's nothing memorable from it. Across the Stars is great. It's a really good bit of music, but the rest of the score, is kind of naff.
Yeah.
But
so
that's
like the
itself,
one thing negative.
The Ben Burt side of it is just so good, and that is the one thing that, like, every rewatch, I'm like, oh, that noise, and it's every scene has something, and I think it's because it all sounds different, but it doesn't feel jarring. So like Zam's speeder on Coruscant is different from every other speeder that we've heard. It's unique. It's got a unique sound. It sounds different from Anakin's speeder, or the speeder that Anakin stole. But they sound great, and like everything else that they're flying past on Coruscant in the traffic and everything, it's like this is all really good, but it's distinct so that when you're rushing through traffic, you kind of can spatially go, right, they're there over there, we're over here. Like, it's great. I love all of that stuff. Obviously,
and the seismic charges.
Like, I mean, in The Mandalorian, I remember watching that episode, season 2, and I was sat with a friend, and I'd sort of just grabbed an arm, and I was like, they're going to do it. They're going to fucking do it. They're going to do it. And then we both just cheered, literally got off the sofa and cheered. And
you could just see the door open.
It's like, oh, here it comes. Yeah. I remember seeing it in the theaters for the first time, and then it was that same moment as in Last Jedi with Holdo.
The
Holdo. Where the sound just drops out, and you get that split second of oh shit, did the something happen in the projection or something? Is it skipped almost? But then you're like, oh no, it's when it happens the second time, you're like, no, that's by design, and it's like they're called seismic charges. It's going to be something audible with them that is to the point.
Right. Right.
Yeah, it's great.
In Jango Fett's starship.
Did
you hear about that?
Yeah, the Yup 69, one of the other podcasts that I listen to, have been calling it the Yup 69 for years now because they weren't fans of the name. Lego Toys have been changing names for years. It's not a big deal, and also like just whatever. It was never referred to that on screen, so they can call it whatever.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a scene in the Book of Boba Fett where he has to change the transponder codes for reasons. So that it's like he has to basically rename the ship. But it doesn't matter. It's such an irrelevant.
I don't even know have they even said it in any of the.
Once. I mean, I think in the cartoons. They have.
Right.
They definitely have in comics and books and stuff like that. But like, It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Okay, so there's 2 movies in this movie.
There is 2 movies in this movie.
And
One's
one
really
I
good.
really love.
One
I
is
really
so
love
good, and the other one
But a lot of people
is not good.
And that's the problem, is a lot of people get hung up on that second one.
Yeah.
On obviously the Anakin storyline.
Obviously.
A love story written and directed by a 58-year-old man
About teenagers. Or like
and I
a
realized-
teenager and someone in their very early 20s.
I don't want to get too deep into it because we all know Anakin doesn't like sand, all the it's almost like complaining about episode 1 being Jar Jar's fault. I realized watching it this time the reason why I don't like this love story.
Hit me.
They look like a couple of rich white kids.
Yeah.
That's it. Like take
yeah.
Titanic, the biggest movie ever at the time. Take a cue from that. Make Anakin feel like a poor kid who's learning to become a priest.
Okay, he used to be a Boba Fett starship on Tatooine, but he's not anymore. He now comes from a place of privilege.
Right.
Like he's got anything and everything is catered for him. Yes, all right, he's a monk essentially, but he's living a pretty good life.
Yeah, and he looks the way he's dressed in his robes. I know when they get on the sort of refugee ship, like they put a poncho on him with like 2 holes in it, and she still has a crazy headdress.
Yeah, neither of them look like they're slumming it. It just looks like fashion.
Right. So that's what I realized this time around with that whole thing was I'm like, this is why I don't care for it. I really wish that the Jedi would be more humble in their dress. And I know we talked about this, I believe, on the From Star Wars to Jedi, the Making of a Saga episode, where the Jedi robes should be only worn for like sort of like I don't know, like
Formal
situations.
Yeah. It's their dress uniform.
Right. So I feel like he shouldn't be. What should have happened was he should have got rid of all Jedi clothing, and we should have got him in more of a Han Solo type outfit going undercover.
Like
Anakin in a vest. He could still have a lightsaber.
Cool.
Yeah.
Make him have to cut the braid.
And then you could say, but you don't cut off the braid until you're a Jedi. And they're like, well, you're still a Padawan, but we need to cut it off. And that would feed into the whole
I'm ready.
Being on the council, but not a master. Yeah. Not a master.
Yeah. So I watched an episode of Clone Wars in this latest rewatch that I'd never seen before because there was a couple of seasons that I just hadn't seen. There's a whole fucking face. There's an entire face-off arc in that where Obi-Wan goes undercover and he literally changes his entire look, and I'm like, what the fuck am I watching? And so but that's too far to do it in a movie, but something more along those lines where I was like, you can go deep cover kind of thing.
Right. But technically that happened after this, so maybe the technology wasn't there yet. But I mean, like, imagine Anakin, like, seriously, in a Han Solo type of jacket. He would be the coolest dude, and ditch the accent. Whatever the accent is, ditch it. It sounds too posh. I don't know if he's put. My wife said, Stevie, she said, he's trying to put on the accent to make himself feel more like Obi-Wan or Jedi-like. But I feel like
almost live up to Padme's level, to come up to that. Yeah.
He would be way more charming.
It's a street kid.
If he was Han Solo. Yeah.
And he was a street kid. And I think all of this comes back to the change that they made in episode 1 to make him younger then.
But I feel like if you dress him down or like a Han Solo and you dress Padme down instead of gowns, put her in like Princess Leia Hoth outfit with pants and a vest. And like make them bring them down to a level where they feel more human.
Something closer to her Geonosis outfit.
Right.
Like that's very stark white. But like but that essentially at that point, like after she loses the cape bit of it, it's just
the gowns.
It's exactly.
Right.
Leia on Hoth is a great shout.
But it's I feel like I'm like,
well, hell,
oh my
Leia
gosh,
on Endor.
Right. I have a feeling like just from an actor standpoint, Hayden Christensen is new to Star Wars and he's been told he's going to be Darth Vader.
Yeah.
So that carries a lot of weight to it as an actor. And then you start putting him in the Jedi robes and stuff. I feel like if he never really loosened up and got into the character. There's a couple of scenes in this where I actually felt like he was like just a dude.
Yeah.
Just a dude. There's a couple
of scenes where he's really good. Like he's perfectly fine playing a 19-year-old kid in a really awkward situation for him where he's like, this is the girl that I've been crushing on despite not seeing her for 10 years. Like the only like romantic interest that I've ever had. He's probably been watching The Hollows. He's been following her career. He knows everything that's going on with her. But like he's been doing that from afar, so he's built her up so much in his mind.
And he's stuck in this religion that teaches you to sway away from that, and
Absolutely.
so he is no game whatsoever. He
is not smooth.
No,
he is the furthest thing from smooth. He's the opposite of Han Solo, which would have again made that thing of kind of relax him, put him in a more of a Han Solo-y look and feel, and he might have relaxed and he might have had some game and it might have made the love story a bit more believable, because as it is, it's like, why would she fall for this dude?
Right. There was
it's
one scene.
Stockholm syndrome. It feels like Stockholm syndrome so much, and it's not good.
There's one scene of those two, because I don't want to dwell on this too long.
No, of course not.
That I actually thought was really good. And that's when they are on that shuttle going to Naboo. And he talks about she's like asking about the Jedi. They're not allowed to love. And he kind of mentions it like a loophole, but at the same time explains we're encouraged to love. Yeah. We're here to protect people. And it was like the most sincere thing he said. And I'm like, he gets it. Like he understands, like, this is like, there's a line between being able to love somebody, but also I'm able to be a Jedi. And so he's trying to make it in his own head be both. Like he's allowed to do both.
Yeah.
And
it works. It really works in that way. And when he's talking and he feels comfortable, the character feels comfortable. And because of that, Hayden, and I think that's why, like, obviously, I don't think it's all Hayden's fault at all. I think actually he's quite good when he's doing, because I think he's playing exactly what he's instructed to play, which is uncomfortable. Most of the time he is uncomfortable. So when in those moments that the character is comfortable, he feels comfortable playing that. And so it's exactly what he wants. So you can't put any fault on him, I don't think. I think he's doing exactly as he was directed to do. And again, like going back to that whole thing, age him up, make him 14 in Phantom Menace. Just bring Phantom Menace in the timeline up a little bit. So that it's not 10 years. Maybe make it a 6-year gap. He's been now training for 6 years. He's 19, or like make him 13. Now he's 19. And so the 10-year gap hasn't been as long. She's now a senator, whatever, all the same stuff. You don't need to change this one at all. But have that difference, and then basically he can be a bit more of a street kid if you wanted him to be, because he's had a bit more time to grow into that on Tatooine, and a much shorter period of time as a Jedi. Like he's basically at this point he's spent more time as a Jedi than he did as a slave on Tatooine, because that was 9 years, and now it's been 10 years. So
you're a book dude. Are there any books even
in between
the Disney purge? Yeah, between
there was one
Phantom Menace and Episode 2.
There was one. It was not long after the Phantom Menace. Cloak of Deception, is it called? Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, it's one. He's a very young Padawan. He's a street kid in that, even. Like, I can only remember like the first couple of chapters, But in that, he's a rebellious kid who keeps on running out of the temple, like escaping from the temple, to go and like race speeders and watch pod racing and stuff like that. And it's like, this is what he should be doing. Like when they go to the club, when they enter that club to chase down Zam Wessel, there's pod racing on the screen. And he doesn't even bat an eyelid. He doesn't even take a glance at it.
Right.
There's
nothing really humanizing about him.
No. Like
I feel like
he should have a passing interest in that.
Right. Like even if it's something like, and I hate rewriting Star Wars because I like to accept them as they are.
Yep.
But even something to the effect of when they are going to, oh, we need to go hide out, we need to go undercover, instead of taking that ship with the pancake droid on it with the rest of the refugees, he could say, oh, I have a ship we can take that he secretly built, and it's, you know, a 2-seater. It forces him to be closer. It shows that he's still tinkering with stuff.
Yeah.
And it kind of adds more to his character. But with what we have, it's the part that I wish was better. Was that love story. But the other story,
the other movie in this movie.
Listen, like, I don't know. Did you catch the IMAX version of Attack of the Clones?
No, we didn't really have many IMAX. I've never seen it. I remember I think I was in Arizona like around that time, and I remember driving past an IMAX theater and going, "Oh, I want to go see it," but we didn't.
You missed out.
Yeah.
So the way IMAX worked, a lot.
It's shorter. Yeah, I was gonna say it's shorter, isn't it?
I want to say that IMAX can only show up to like 2 hours.
Okay.
And so I think this movie runs at about 2 hours 21 minutes. So you're talking 20 minutes. The majority, like the credits, are completely taken out, and they put every single credit up on a card, like 4 cards.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, the credits last like 10 seconds. So there's a good portion taken out of it. A lot of Droid Factory stuff. When like C-3PO gets pushed off of the ledge by R2 down into the Droid Factory.
Yeah.
He lands pretty much straight on the conveyor belt where he stands up and gets his head knocked off. So he doesn't ride around on the droid. He doesn't do any of that stuff.
That's much better.
They trim a ton of that. A lot of the love story stuff is taken out. It's essentially turns into an Obi-Wan movie. The only stuff they keep in for like Padme and Anakin is stuff that has to be in the story to get them from point A to point B. Yeah. So you don't get I don't even know if you get the meadow scene. You definitely don't get the shack.
Okay.
Him riding the shack. You may get the meadow scene. You get the post nightmare for sure, because on the IMAX screen, like, you can tell that the camera wasn't locked down as tight as it should have been, because when he's standing there with his back, you see his back, he's got his arms behind his back and he's looking out onto the lake, and like those shots.
Coke can, isn't there? Is that the Coke can scene?
So you can see the back the background shifting.
Oh, okay.
Because it's blown up so huge, like even a millimeter, you know, on a screen is, you can't see it, but when it's blown up to like what, 4 stories high, like that millimeter is now 3 feet.
Yeah, right.
Or a meter. I'll use metrics for you.
That's okay.
But you know what I mean.
England's stupid. We use a bit of everything.
What, you're saying feet stupid?
No, I love feet. Feet and inches. I use feet and inches more than meters.
I believe somewhere on the internet is a breakdown of what was cut out of the IMAX version. I saw it once. I was blown away. That's when I first really fell in love with the movie, because it got streamlined so much. I want to say that the library scene, and maybe even the Camino, the Yoda scene, might be gone, I think he gets the dart and goes straight
All right.
to Dexter.
Cool.
Like it's okay. So anyway, what I did is I took a bunch of notes, which isn't usually my deal, but it's stuff that struck me odd, and all the notes are pretty much Obi-Wan based. Okay. So first and foremost, one of the first notes I took is when Obi-Wan and Anakin arrive at Padme's apartment to say they're going to come help. Obi-Wan says our visit will be invisible. We'll be invisible here, which is odd. Because it's setting up the fact that they must be mentally trying to hide from the Sith.
I more took it as a case of like him saying like, we're not going to get in the way. We will just be sort of stood in the corners, essentially like observing like a security guard like detail, but that we won't get in the way. We're not going to get in the way.
Like,
don't worry.
Like we won't make a whisper where it flies on the wall.
We'll be over here.
I was thinking in terms of the grand scheme of the Jedi being clouded and not being able to see the Sith and being able to cloak themselves in the Force.
Invisible, way too literally there.
This line is from Anakin, and this line is definitely what it means.
He doesn't really have much nuance.
He mentions that dreams pass in time.
Yeah.
Which I found was an interesting thing and sounds like something the Jedi would tell kids to get them to shut up.
Yeah, and also the fact that I think it plays into, again, I'm going to reference Clone Wars again. It's weird being that guy because I'm normally not that guy who references the Clone Wars, but in terms of this movie, I do. I think like because we know about his relationship with Satine from that, like it's a case of like I feel like it's him going like, hey, look, you're not the only one who's had these sorts of feelings and been sort of pulled away from the Jedi Order and stuff a few times, but it passes. You know, you buckle down, you do the work, you get back into your studies and stuff, you meditate, you do what you got to do, and those dreams will pass. They'll fade. Like you just, you know. But
one of his dreams was to become a Jedi.
Yeah.
And
he dreamt he was a Jedi.
That could be fading too. Like his desire to be a Jedi could be fading.
That's really good.
Also, what's sort of sad is he has dreams of his mom.
Yeah.
And so it's also he's probably afraid of those dreams fading, which come
the
up
dreams
later.
of his mum. The dreams of his mum, I think, are excellent in this because of the stuff in Revenge of the Sith. The dreams that he has here and everything that happens with Shmi in this, like it's a direct setup for his fall.
Yeah.
Not just
which is I've said this before. I'm not sure if I said it on the show. As an experiment, it's fun to watch the prequels in reverse order because you can really, really see what George was doing. So his whole turn to the dark side when he gets called Darth Vader for the first time, it's Palpatine or Sidious saying, I will teach you to teach. I'll teach you to cheat death.
Yeah.
And watching it in reverse order, hearing that first, and then seeing him and his mom, and it adds more weight. I feel like it doesn't feel like.
Well, at that point, he's lost essentially, like, because, all right, he didn't know him for that long, but Qui-Gon was quite a father figure for him. He refers to, in this, I don't like that he refers to Obi-Wan as like a father to me in this. It should be more of a brotherly thing, I feel. I feel like it should be more of what Obi-Wan says in Sith, where he's like, you're my brother, Anakin. It's like, they should be, like, closer there. But like, if you think of Qui-Gon as a father figure for him, like the one who took him away from that old life, and then like he lost him straight away, he's lost his mum. It's like, cheating death. Like that's all he's had. Other than that.
Yeah, and it really, like, I feel like, I don't know, it could have been played bigger in this, so that by the time you see 3, you know that's his main goal.
Yeah.
He has dreams of her dying in childbirth in the 3rd episode.
He should have been
when he's ranting in the Skyhopper garage. Like if he just had some sort of line where he was like, I can't believe I let my mother die. I'm never going to let that happen to you. Like
Yeah.
if, to make that connection to go into the next one. But you can tell that George, that's what he had in mind.
Yeah, of course he did.
Okay. Obi-Wan has an old friend.
Dex.
I
Oh, Dex.
okay.
Dex
The
is so good.
old friend. Like, okay, so this scene, when I first saw it, I was like, really, a 50s diner? But now I love it.
It's
love
great.
it so
I love
much.
everything on Coruscant. In this movie, I love everything on Coruscant. I think Coruscant, this is the best Coruscant we get, is in this movie.
Yeah.
It's the most Coruscant we get, but it's also, I think, the best. And I love all of it. I'm so here for it.
Right. I think maybe with Clone Wars kind of softened that up too, because it Clone Wars, you get to see a lot of homages to different things.
Yeah. There's different
And
areas,
so,
there's different
like
districts.
this is what was like the first place as far as when the movies were released chronologically throughout the years. This was the most Earth feeling location, like as far as like
was a diner that you could walk into Disneyland or something. Yeah.
And there's that famous picture
George laying
with George sitting under the counter. Yeah, from American Graffiti and Attack of the Clones. Have I showed that one already? I think we showed that one before.
I don't think we've shown it on the show, but it's I like as soon as you said that famous photo, I knew exactly the photo you meant.
Right. But it's I love Dex, and if he is not in the Obi-Wan series,
ooh,
I'm going to be kind of upset.
I don't think he will be.
Don't think he will?
I don't think he will. I would love it. It depends, because like the Obi-Wan series is so weird to me, because at first I was like, I hope that it's 100% on Tatooine. I don't think that they should be leaving Tatooine at all, because the purist in me doesn't want Ben Kenobi to be leaving Tatooine at any point in those years. And when they brought back Hayden, I'm like, I only want it to be flashback or visions from Obi-Wan.
It should just be him in the suit.
Or him in the suit. I mean, I don't know why you bring him back. I don't know why you bring him back at that point. But like, but visions, memories, flashbacks, whatever from Obi-Wan, I'm fine with that. Hell, put him in his Clone Wars armor and have flashbacks.
Yeah, they can do force projection.
The connection. Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah.
So do you? This is a little. This is a little. I think
he's going off planet. I think they are going to fight.
Okay, well, we'll see. Yeah. The line, "It's a presence I haven't felt since," is pretty open ended, and I like where it fits now.
Yeah.
In Star Wars, but a couple things.
But when he left you, he was but the learner. Now he is the master.
Right.
Was he yeah.
They don't need to fight.
No, they don't. They shouldn't.
So two things with Obi-Wan series. I feel like maybe Dexter, his restaurant might not do as well under the power of the Empire. No. So maybe he has to pack up and move to let's go Mos Espa. Okay. Let's make it let's not Mos Eisley, but the second thing with the Obi-Wan series.
Mos Palgo or whatever.
Will we get maybe? Okay, so this is important. This is a prediction / want / hope they don't fuck it up.
Oh dear.
We get a slightly up-aged Ewan McGregor to look like Alec Guinness. They've been doing they've been de-aging everybody left and right. We haven't really up-aged. I think Peggy Carter has been up-aged.
Yeah, probably. And Chris Evans.
Right. Do you like? I mean, I just want it just a little bit like what was it? Rebels.
Yeah.
Rebels had it closer towards Alec Guinness, and it would have been close to this time period or a little bit. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
10 years.
That's the big thing. It's like this is going to be super close to the Rebels time period, like presumably. So he should like have
5 years before.
Yeah. So this is 5 years before Rebels. The Obi-Wan series.
Rebels was 5 years, 5 BBY, right?
But that was season 3, so I think you're maybe like closer to like 3 or 4 years.
And we're talking 10 BBY for... No. It's 10 years later, which would put it at 8 BBY?
8, yeah. So you're only a little bit before Rebels.
Like 5 years.
Yeah.
There's a 5 years difference between
But he
Obi-Wan
hasn't killed Maul yet, basically, is what we're saying.
But I'm saying is...
A little bit. He needs to be a little bit.
Yeah.
He should be closer to Alec than Ewan.
Right.
But I think Ewan can play it because I love him. Like, and in this movie, I think he's almost flawless as Obi-Wan. Mm-hmm. I love his Obi-Wan in this now. The more I watch it, the more I love it.
He's definitely more comfortable in the role.
Yeah.
I believe. I feel like it takes the actors. Maybe it's George. Maybe it's being on the set with George, that first movie, and you want to make sure you get it right. And then you may realize that George probably doesn't care about the acting as much as the other stuff.
Yeah,
so
you've got to bring that yourself.
You can be more comfortable doing my own thing. Because there's some stuff in the Jango Fett fight where he's like, almost feels like Han Solo. Like he's doing his Han Solo. Like he's like, I don't know. I'm 95% sure the old folks line is him ad-libbing.
I love that. Like whoever, if he wrote that, if he ad-libbed that, it's like, yeah, the care of the old folks home. Referring to, and that's great. I love that for Obi-Wan as a character. Like Ewan does it brilliantly, but like it's great for Obi-Wan because he is a bit cheeky. He's always been a bit cheeky. Alec was a bit cheeky as Obi-Wan. And it's like, yeah, he should have a bit of a sense of humor. If it's him referring to the temple as the old folks' home, I love that.
Yeah. One of the things I found interesting is that when Obi-Wan was at the library, and the librarian, I forget her name, she says, if it's not in the archive, it doesn't exist. Ugh. Which is
such a librarian move.
But it's the perfect it's the
encapsulation
sort
of the Jedi hubris.
Yeah, the Jedi are like out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
They're so absorbed in their ways and think they're right and think they're safe.
So
when they're just like,
I'm reading the second main novel of the High Republic that just came out this week now. Mm-hmm. Book series that started beginning of this year, and it's fantastic. It's really, really good. I know when the first one came out, you said it's almost tempting you to read a book kind of thing, like, but you didn't get there. No. It's really good, and this is like, that's the Jedi sort of kind of at their height, but there is that hubris is starting to creep in a lot as well, where it's like they feel like they are better than at certain points, and I feel like it only sort of builds and builds and builds to the point in the prequel trilogy where they are at that point where they're almost feel like they're infallible until this movie, really. Like it's that last line, that last dialogue in the council chamber where they're like, we missed this. This has all been happening under our noses, and we missed this as Jedi. Like our ability to use the Force has diminished. Like the shroud of the dark side has fallen, kind of thing.
Obi-Wan takes the information to Yoda, and he says, Yoda says, "Only a Jedi can erase those files. I'll meditate on this." And it has that same feeling of like, it doesn't even seem important to Yoda right now. Like, and then to like meditate on it, like, it's like, what is that going to do? Yeah, like, you don't have any concern why a Jedi would erase an entire planet out of an archive.
Yeah, like the kind reading of Yoda's action there is I'll give it some thought. I'll look into it. That's his way of saying I'll look into it. But it's not. He's definitely not going to look into it. He's just going to like, no, I'll think about it. It's what it is thoughts and prayers, man. Thoughts and prayers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's exactly. And I like that Obi-Wan still investigates. He's not like, oh, it doesn't exist. Like,
That bullshit.
he
Yes,
knows
it does.
something's up.
Yeah, he says, I know that it does. I trust my information. My source is legit. And he says, like, I know this planet exists. I just can't find it anywhere.
Yeah, I love that he says that.
Yeah.
I got this information from a friend I trust.
Yeah,
which shows you
that he says. I think the line is like, I know that it's accurate. I know that it's true. So I think yeah.
But I like that Yoda would take him at his word. Like if Obi-Wan says
he trusts
this person, enough. When we get to Kamino, I feel like there's lines I miss that I never heard of before. 2,000 clones are ready, with 1 million more that are almost ready to go.
God, is it only 2,000?
It said that there's 2,000 ready, and I think that's maybe to kind of like be like, okay, well, right now we're gonna just need people for this battle at the end, but after that, I want to see all of them.
Yeah.
So I think that's just the Lucas thing, being like, we can't send 1 million to Geonosis.
Yeah.
Because they would just wipe everybody out and it'd be no.
It's not a war. So. It's not a war. It's a purge.
Also, obedient without questioning.
Yes.
They're obedient without questioning.
They've
sets up Order 66.
And the inhibitor chips and everything, like it's right there from line 1. That's from Tanway or from Lama Su? I think it's from Lama Su, isn't it?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah. Who we're getting a lot more of in the Bad Batch at the moment.
Yeah. And
like the Kamino ones are getting more interesting. They've got like some stuff going on.
Right. Don't like the reused music of the Battle Droid Army.
Nope.
For the clones.
Nope. They should have had their own theme at this point. Like they do later. Like the clones is a really good bit of music. But
this is where I was hoping, if John Williams were to bring back that 1977 Imperial theme, which you can watch the video on our YouTube page.
It's linked right there.
Like this would have been the perfect spot.
Yeah, that's a great shout.
Because you always hear that music in 77 when you see stormtroopers.
Yeah.
So make it a clone trooper theme and then slowly fade that out into the Imperial March. But
because the Imperial March, like most of the time when we see it in Empire, we're not cutting to stormtroopers, we're cutting to like Piet and Marty and Vader. Yeah. Like it's the Imperial officers theme, really. Whereas like that could be like the boots on the ground.
Exactly. Like you hear that all over in Mos Eisley and all that stuff.
Because it's troops, it's boots on the ground, yeah.
But it drives me nuts that it's reused from episode 1. It really
it's a good bit of music in episode 1, and it works for that. But it doesn't fit here because we think of it like it makes them feel like bad guys. Where at this point they're not bad guys.
And then that theme was so memorable from episode 1, which was fresh in our mind, and it was like the score was lifted higher, like sound wise, than the sound effects during the scene where that took place, where the droid dropships come down and the troop transports come out, and it's mostly music.
Yeah,
it's a showcase for that cue, and to use it here, I'm just like, oh man. I remember it's just a shame. It's something that stuck out of my mind when I very first saw it in the theater.
It's in the same way that you bring back Duel of the Fates when he's on the speeder going through Tatooine. It's like, why? It doesn't. That's not what that theme should be used for. It's a great bit of music. No. Love to hear it, but it doesn't fit there. Yeah. Hell, bring back some pod racer music because he's rushing around Tatooine or something. If you're gonna do anything,
it's crazy. But the thing is, so earlier in the movie, during the Coruscant chase through the city streets with Zam Wessel, that music that's in there, which is an original piece of music, it's a really nice long cue on the soundtrack, and there's electric guitar hidden in there.
Yeah. It's cool. It's really cool.
They take that music and put it at the end of the movie as well during the action. It's crazy. I'm really curious to see how much actual original music's in this score. From what I remember, it's that way because it was edited so late.
Okay. I know that they were still working. They were still working on some of the effect stuff, like within days of release. Like,
so here's the thing. I think this is on the commentary. If you went on opening night, you saw Attack of the Clones. You saw Jango Fett get run over by the Reek, and he does a tumble.
I know what you're gonna
cool.
say, yeah.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah.
Now, if you went the following week and saw it digitally, they added a bunch of sparks to his jetpack to show that he couldn't fly away.
Yeah. And
so George was editing this
as he's trying to get away from Jango, from Mace.
So George, sometime after the release, he was like, "Oh, it's not clear that his jetpack doesn't work. Add more sparks." Yeah. And they sent a new file out for the digital theaters. Yeah. And so there's more sparks coming out his back. So he wasn't done.
No,
like
definitely
the
not.
score, the issues with the score have to do with George. I know that the droid factory scene came real late in the game too. I'm fine with it. I don't care. I'm fine with it. It doesn't bug me. They're because of the droid factory, we get the swapping heads of C-3PO. And there's one line during the battle that makes me laugh. Legitimately makes me laugh every time. And it's the battle droid saying, "I can't feel my legs moving. I must need maintenance."
That one
cracks me up. I don't know why that cracks me up. It's hilarious. A battle droid thinking out loud is stupid because a droid shouldn't be thinking out loud. But for him to say what his problem is to himself, there's something about that. It just cracks me up. It's so funny.
That is perfect going into the Clone Wars series where the battle droids are comedic relief and they talk like they think stuff out loud like all the time. Like the battle droids, I didn't like them when I first saw them in this movie because they changed the voice a little bit from episode 1 as well. The Rogers are a bit different. They're a bit higher pitched. But they work when you go into Clone Wars, the series. They're closer to that. So I don't have a problem with it too much. And even more so, like they're even more heightened in Revenge of the Sith. Like they're even more high pitched.
Yeah. I have a problem with the super battle droids talking in Revenge of the Sith.
I hate it. That's They're not menacing. They lose all menace as soon as they
talk on like baby talk.
Yeah. It's real bad. We'll get to that. Yeah. But the droid saying that is fine. It's the C-3PO puns. I'm
fine. It's 3PO.
They shouldn't have been there. They shouldn't have been there. They should have taken a ship. They should have gone and done something on a ship. I
love him apologizing for shooting people.
Yeah, that's okay. But as soon, there's such a drag. I'm beside myself.
You know what? It's all that. I'm assuming was ad-libbed in ADR, and I'm fine with it. Maybe. It's not. Listen, dude. It's C-3PO's back. We barely got him in episode 1. Like it's fun to just see him being. C-3PO.
It does feel like it's Golden Tony doing like just going nuts and having fun. It definitely feels like it's him making up lines, seeing some scenes and making up some lines for it. It definitely feels like that.
Okay, so as of this recording, I went to Disneyland 2 days ago.
Yeah,
you've been on Star Tours, right?
See.
Okay, so we in the new Star Tours, C-3PO is the pilot.
Okay. So, wow, I've not been on new Star Tours, which is definitely not new anymore. I've only ever been on classic Star Tours. It has been 20 years since I've been to Disneyland.
He's doing maintenance on the control panel.
Yeah.
When the ship gets sent out.
Okay.
Prematurely by accident. And he's like, I'm not the pilot. So C-3PO is now the pilot in there. And it is great.
So, like in the story of the ride, is it still meant to be the original pilot? From old Star Tours.
It's a different one. It's a precursor to that one. So this is like kind of a prequel to the other one. But you see the pilot when you're in the pre-boarding. You see the pilot in there, like via security cam, get up and says, I'm going to go take a break, or I need maintenance. He gets up and goes, and C-3PO comes in with his clipboard or whatever, and he's working on it. We all come in, and they start launching the ship, and I think it's R2 doing it.
Yeah.
But he's like, I'm not the pilot. I don't fly ships. And the thing comes down, and he's sitting in there, and he's like, what's happening? And before he can do anything, something kind of interrupts your takeoff.
Okay.
And it changes. So sometimes there's stormtroopers. Sometimes it's Kylo Ren who's using the Force on you and stuff. Sometimes you just get out real quick and you follow the Falcon. There's different scenarios. The scenario the other day was Darth Vader.
Ooh.
So Darth Vader comes out on a hovering platform, and he uses the Force and starts shaking the ship around using the Force, and C-3PO is trying to back out. So 3PO arms the front cannons and starts shooting starship cannons at Vader, who's blocking him with his lightsaber. And I turned to Stevie and I said, why is he doing that to his dad? Why is he shooting at his dad?
Maker.
Yeah. And I was like,
it's like, fuck
I've
the
been
maker.
through that scenario. I've been through that scenario a bunch of times, and I'm like, it only dawned on me now that stupid C-3PO was built by Anakin, which I'm totally fine with. I'm 100% fine with. I'm not a big fan of making the universe smaller, but heck, man, there's there's
bigger things to complain at. Yeah.
There's
I think I'd have rather him made R2 than 3PO.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like 3PO would fit Queen Amidala's sort of thing more, which would make more sense.
Definitely.
But still, when Vader shot R2, you'd be like, I don't know, would it make it work? I don't know. Whatever. I'm fine with how they are.
Yeah.
This movie, as far as the prequels go, has my favorite batch of planets.
So we got Coruscant, Naboo, Tatooine, Geonosis, Camino.
Yeah,
that's it.
But as far as the new planet's constructed, George Lucas is still able to make like a single sort of biome or whatever. Yeah. Like, so we now have a sea planet and an ocean planet, which is great. Cool. I think Camino's awesome. I love Camino.
Yeah.
It's like
the sterileness of it.
Like Cloud City, but on the water. And he finally got to get his air whales in. That he wanted to do for Cloud City, that Ralph McQuarrie.
I was going to say they're a McQuarrie design, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, but they had him flying in Cloud City. So now they made him sort of like amphibious. Is that the right word? Where you're underwater and above water? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
And then
we know Star Wars, we don't know biology.
And then I love Geonosis. I absolutely adore Geonosis. I think it's George's first sort of it's his first planet that he got to build from the ground up. Like it doesn't take place in a desert.
Yeah.
In the snow on a forest.
Like it's well, I mean it is obviously, but it's a location more than a set, because like Camino, like despite it, like we only see really exteriors as establishing shots, but other than that is all set. So yeah. But Geonosis, I love the concept because it's designed and it looks like a heavy metal sort of fantasy landscape. That's a great shout. Heavy metal, that fantasy, but sci-fi fantasy, like Sean Connery and his pants would look good there, sort of thing. This might be the first planet chronologically that we see like in the real world, not chronologically in the story, where we see a planet with the rings. I don't think we see any in the original trilogy or episode 1. I could be wrong. Doesn't matter. But I like when Obi-Wan first approaches and you see the droid control ship balls, domes, whatever you call them, in the ground, and then all the termite mounds. Landed. Yes.
The fact that the termite mounds are constructed
and stuff, and
and then once you get inside sort of Dooku's lair and the inside of those catacombs, they look like something out of Flash Gordon.
Yeah, they're very.
And I love it.
Yeah,
I'm a huge fan of Flash Gordon. If you join my Patreon, this isn't necessarily a plug, but you can go and watch all the Flash Gordon serials with me. Yeah, there it is. And I like to talk about the similarities and what influenced George Lucas.
This
but
movie
what's great is
so Flash Gordon.
So all of those, like Ming the Merciless, who's the main bad guy. If you watch the original Flash Gordon, he has a castle that's built into a giant spire of rocks. It's a giant spire of rocks that goes into it like a castle. And so this definitely feels like it. And I really, really like that since George Lucas was able to create a brand new planet, he kind of gave the sky and the world itself a sepia tone look.
Yes.
Which really reminds me of Flash Gordon, because obviously Flash Gordon was black and white.
Sure. It differentiates it so much from Tatooine. Both desert planets, like you could like be forgiven. I think a lot of people might be thinking they're the same if they don't follow what's actually happening with the plot. Right. But like they are so colored different that it's
I know it looks artificial.
Certain bits,
and
especially.
He probably could have made the sky blue and made it look less artificial, because he might have. I think for like the droid battle scene in episode 1, and the pod race, those were all CG created landscapes.
Yeah.
But and they looked really good. They looked pretty real. But for him to make the sky yellow, it made it really feel like fantasy, which I kind of like.
It's different.
Like I never thought of Star Wars as sci-fi.
Yeah, no, it's not.
It's more fantasy. Yes,
yeah.
I like more space wizards and stuff, but I like that he was now not confined to creating places based on locations.
Yeah,
I do like that the sequel trilogy has gone to places, or not even the sequel trilogy. Let's say the Disney era. Like Lamu, which is where we first meet Galen Erso. Like they went to a crazy place for that.
It's Iceland, wasn't it? I think, yeah.
Yeah, and then they went
the black
to
sand
Jordan
beaches and everything. Yeah,
they went to Jordan for Jeddah and stuff. So all that stuff's cool. But for George, having that taste of being able to construct the pod race track digital, it made him be able to see his Star Wars characters in a Flash Gordon universe, because Flash Gordon is all matte paintings and
that's
models.
What he was always making. He always wanted to be making that. That was his Star Wars.
If whoever owned the rights to Flash Gordon let him have the rights, he would have just made Flash Gordon in 77.
We wouldn't have had Star Wars. Yeah.
So this whole set of new planets we get, the new planets being Camino and Geonosis, I think are really cool. Episode 1, we got Naboo and Coruscant, which was Coruscant. We had the special edition.
Well, we had the special edition, but it had been around since like 91, and it had been in script since 83. Like it was originally meant to be in Jedi, sort of thing. So
episode 3 has a lot of planets that we get to see for a really short time. I like Felucia. I'm not the biggest fan of Mustafar.
No, Magito's cool. Magito's a unique look. With Coyote Mundi, like it's got a bunch. Like I can't wait to do that sort of stuff, because that montage is awesome.
But with this movie, that we really get to spend some time on these two planets, and I love them. I really like Geonosis. I think it's just so weird. It's just so weird.
I really like the Separatist Council.
Okay.
I think they're all cool. They're not all new aliens. I think there's a Quarren in there. But they're all different. They're all really diverse, and it's really interesting. I love the Moon, the Banking Clan Moon guy with his narrow, tall head. Do you know that Darth Plagueis? You know that Darth Plagueis was a Moon. A Mew, whatever. Yeah, so that's what he was. So if you think about like that guy training Palpatine, like that's what that relationship was. It's super weird. And yeah, Wat Tambor is great. Like I don't think that was a character that I liked at the time. I was like, oh, that's a bit cheeky and cheesy. But like,
they're all real CG looking.
Yeah. But like as character designs, again, this movie has got such good design work to it. Speaking of
like Flash Gordon, the Geonosians, Poggle the Lesser is amazing. I love Poggle the Lesser.
It's brilliant.
But the fact that they're termites and they're hidden in the walls.
Yeah, love that scene. Well, that shot
sort of the prelude.
Cool. Yeah,
is straight out of Flash Gordon. In the first Flash Gordon, there were rock people. Okay. They did a cool effect where there's the side of the rocks and they sort of become visible, and they come out of the rocks and they're men. They did a similar thing in Flash Gordon's Trip to Mars, which is the second one, where there's clay people and they come out of the walls. They don't have anything like that in the third one, but this is definitely George Lucas wanted these guys to come out of the walls.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling they didn't have the droid sequence. They must have gotten caught in that hallway. I would have skipped the droid sequence.
I would have preferred more with the Geonosians than with the droids. Right. I'd have liked more running around catacombs and stuff like that. I think that would have been all really cool.
I think they look cool, and I think it's interesting. I heard this on a commentary that the Geonosians they're obviously creating the droids in the droid factory, model them somewhat after themselves.
Yeah.
So they don't have human faces, they have like the long faces, and
but they are constructors. They're builders. It plays into it. And again, like they've done this with any like insectoid species in Star Wars throughout old EU and now even in like a High Republic even. Like,
and they're physically building the Death Star.
Exactly. Insectoid species are always like used as builders. Like they've always been like good ship builders and stuff like this. In this, they're building the droids and they are building the Death Star. It's in the planning stages, but they are building it. And like you watch through Clone Wars a little bit, but in Rebels quite a lot. And then it was done in comics and books and stuff. Like they build the Death Star, most of it, like, and then it's moved. Yeah. Then it becomes like under the care of Tarkin and then Krennic and then Tarkin again. So I think it bounces between those two. But the Geonosians as a species, because they know what they're building, they're just fucking wiped out. Like the Empire just comes in and says, all right, cool, genocide. Like they completely like wreck that planet. And it's really interesting.
Did you listen to the commentary for this ever?
I have a long time
George
ago.
George Lucas mentions the Geonosians building the Death Stars and said that he said Jay and Silent Bob don't have to worry about construction workers getting killed. They just killed a bunch of bugs. The rebels just killed a bunch of bugs.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, you idiot. Jay and Silent Bob weren't discussing that. It was Dante and Randall.
Yeah, idiot.
but it was like one of those things where I'm like, oh my gosh, he
referenced
totally saw Clerks and paid attention and was like, okay, they'll have bugs build them. Bugs built the Death Star, so when the Rebels blew up Death Star 2...
I mean, maybe they did. I mean, I've always been under the assumption that the Death Star 2 was under construction at the same time. Or it was already under construction. If you look
at the end shot of this, we see two Death Stars and one's further along.
Oh, really? In this?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I've completely missed
Wait,
that.
No. Sorry, I'm getting confused with episode 3. In episode 3, you can see the two Death Stars. Yes.
Holy shit! You're blowing my mind.
Let's look.
It's right here.
I mean,
we'll get to it, especially when we get to episode 3. We'll cover that because you are blowing my mind, Ralph. I had no idea.
I might actually do an edit here because I don't want to be wrong. Wait a second. Am I not? I swear to God, there was 2 Death Stars. Hold on.
Look, there's one. Obviously, there's one, but
why? Hold on. Jesus
I mean, this
Christ,
is an article from at some point, but they think that this article thinks that it's the second Death Star that we see in episode 3, and that the first Death Star is further along.
I must be completely wrong. What did I see?
What did you see?
There's no screenshots.
We can come back into the show with this.
Okay. Let me... okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do some chopping the last couple minutes, or maybe not. Maybe I'll let it go. It'll give time for people to yell at us for being wrong or right. There's a couple of things I want to talk. I'm going to go back to Star Tours real quick.
Okay.
I'm wondering if it's something I saw in Star Tours.
Oh, maybe.
When you fly to Geonosis, there's definitely a Death Star being constructed. Fuck. Am I fucking it up? Okay. I can tell you one thing.
Go for it.
In the new Star Tours, when they did an episode, they did 2 episode 9 stuff. So you can go into the Battle of Exegol, and you can go to the moon, one of the moons of Endor.
Cool.
Now, we all know that there's the Forest Moon of Endor, and apparently the Forest Moon of Endor has 5 moons or something. Yeah. It's ridiculous. So in Star Tours, when you fly to Endor, it's the planet we've seen from Return of the Jedi. Mm-hmm. And as you go around the planet, you see all 5 moons in various locations.
Yeah, yeah.
So the moons of Endor have been hidden behind this big
that
green,
yeah
that one. So there's that. Where have I seen the 2 Death Stars? It's gonna drive me nuts. I don't think I could continue going until I look it up.
Is this gonna be our natural end to this episode? Is Ralph?
I have stuff to talk about.
We can do it. We can talk.
Okay.
We will table this conversation for our episode 3 talk, because I want to talk about that end scene when we talk about episode 3, but I will save it.
Okay. All right.
So I think that the Geonosians maybe started construction, maybe they did the framework of the second Death Star, but I don't think they... I mean, maybe that's why they were behind schedule, because they wiped out all the Geonosians, and it was left to poor Moff Jerjerrod to try and scramble.
Also, probably all of anyone constructing the Death Star were killed on Edu.
Yep.
By Krennic.
Yep.
And
Jerjerrod was I feel so bad for him.
And then there was no one left to help work on the second one after the Death Star exploded.
Yeah.
Because you really only have Vader. Yeah, Vader and the Emperor, and those Imperial officers didn't seem to care about Vader. Now Vader seems more in charge.
Yeah.
He doesn't give a shit about the Death Star. He calls it a monstrosity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or he calls it a technological terror.
Yeah. He's not into it. He's never been into it.
No. Dooku talking to Obi-Wan about the Senate being controlled by a Sith.
He just gives up the ghost. Like that interrogation scene, he just gives up every bit of information. He's right there. And I feel like that is his play on the Sith Master and Apprentice gambit, as it is always plays out. Like the apprentice tries to kill the master and take their own apprentice. And I feel like that is him playing that. Like he's not being overt enough with Obi-Wan. Basically, I think he's sort of saying, it's like, you join me. I taught your master, so maybe you come be my apprentice, and together we will take out the Sith who is controlling it all.
Right. And he fully knows who Sidious is.
Of course he does.
Yeah.
But I think he's playing that almost the will you join me? Like, and if you will, I'll tell you everything.
Right. The arena.
Yeah.
The arena.
There's
a moment.
Arena, whatever it is.
Petronaki, I think.
Yeah.
There's a moment where Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Padme are tied up.
Yeah.
This makes me wish that episode 1 was an adventure with these 3 together.
They're great.
They're never together. This is like one of the few times all 3 of them are together where they're not at each other's throats.
They should have.
And it's so much fun.
It should have been the trios. Each trilogy is better when the trio. They don't need to be like doing everything together, but like when they're bouncing off of each other, it's always working to get to back at each other and stuff like that. It's great. Like when she's like, "I'm going to go rescue Obi-Wan." Sure, yeah, he's their sidekick. He's the Chewie of the group, sort of thing. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, when Padme's like, well, I'm gonna go rescue Obi-Wan, and you'll have to follow me. And it's like that smile that he instantly goes from being all sullen to that smile. It's like
that's one of the moments.
It's great.
It's one of the moments where it feels
natural.
real.
Yes.
They don't need to have scenes of them falling in love. They need to be on an adventure where they're both at their best.
Yeah.
And notice something in each other.
They just come together naturally.
Yeah.
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 And
we're not forced fed.
Throughout the course of 3-4 years of war, they can fall in love, get married, do whatever, like sort of thing, like conceive. Because war. Yeah. When he's back home on furlough or whatever, like it's great.
Right.
Yeah.
It bums me out because that moment, like because it's Anakin being concerned and saying to Obi-Wan, well, what about Padme? And he says, oh, she's on top of things. And as she's already taken care of herself. And
that pun is great. I love that one.
It's his main concern. It's Anakin's main concern, which it shouldn't be because she can take care of herself. And Obi-Wan knows this. Like that dynamic is what I want to see more of.
Yeah. It's Obi-Wan basically schooling him on like, dude, respect her as a person. Like she's got this shit. She doesn't need you to be there all the time. You don't need to be overbearing.
The imagine the opening sequence of Revenge of the Sith, where those two guys are in their Jedi starfighters, but then also Padme's in a starfighter. Like, how much fun would it be?
Yeah.
Like, have her do stuff.
Yeah.
At the beginning of this movie, she's piloting an Naboo starfighter.
Keep doing that.
And
she's got the training, clearly.
Yeah. Like, have her do stuff.
Yeah. So while we're in the arena, every time I watch the Jedi sort of battle in the arena, I try and focus on a different background Jedi.
I did that when I went to the theater to watch these.
Yeah. Some of them are really good. And some of them are like, you can tell that on their green screen day, they were putting in so much effort. They'd learned some moves. They knew what they were doing. And some of them, it's terrible. It's like,
they get put in the back farther.
No, that's the problem, is that some of them, like there's the guy who's got 2 lightsabers and he looks awful, but it's like he's got 2, so they pull him up further, like closer to the camera.
Right.
He's doing so shit. Like it just doesn't, and you can tell they've kind of had to crowd in like droid junk around him to try and make it look like he's doing something impressive, but he's not. He's moving so slowly. He's doing nothing impressive, and it's just cringy to watch. But
George just wanted to pack. George just wanted to pack in.
It's like
everything
you fit
into the
this
frame.
Costume, get in there. You're in NSYNC, get in there. Like, it's yeah.
And the not Shakti. Who's the Twilight?
The Twilight. Ayla Sakura, the blue Twilight. Yeah.
I want to say she was an artist in Lucasfilm.
Yes, she was.
Yeah.
She's cool. I met her at Celebration 3, I want to say.
They're just pulling people.
Yeah.
It's like Photoshop. They just need to get.
And then she's
any sort of body in the frame.
Favorite character. Like she's got a really good story. She was Quinlan Voss's apprentice and all of that stuff. Like, she's great. Ayla Sakura's a cool character. And that whole, because there's the deleted scene of her, Plo Koon, and Coyote Mundi going and trying to shut down the droid control ship. And that's why that battle fails, is because they go off, they shut down the droid control ship, the droids stop for like a second, and then they come back up, and it's a case of, no, you can't just pull the same trick that you pulled in episode 1. You've got they've got all of these control ships, and they're all like individually controlled, sort of thing. So they fail, and that's why like they're like pushed into that circle at the end, because they had to give up.
There's
not the only Jedi in that arena that I've met. I sat next to, well, I should have talked about it earlier on when we were talking about Mace being a badass. I sat next to Sam Jackson on a plane once after episode 1.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was 12, 13 years old. So it would have been.
Did you say anything?
Yeah.
Talk?
So here's some James history for you. We had the sad stuff of like my dad dying and stuff, and now we get some fun stuff. So my mum's other half was a captain for British Airways for a long, long time. And
cool.
so he'd flown some really cool people over his years. And whenever we flew, which I didn't get to fly with him too often, but whenever I did, like more often than not, we'd get bumped up to like either business or very occasionally got to fly first class, which was amazing. I got spoiled with those sorts of things. And so this one got bumped up to first class, and he sort of said to me, he's like, I got a surprise for you. Sam and his crew, his family, I think he was with, they had business class tickets, but first class hadn't been booked out. So Paul bumped them up and put them in first class. And so I was sat basically like in the same cabin with Sam Jackson on a transatlantic flight. And so I'm like, I'm gonna give you your space. I'm not gonna be an annoying kid because it's a privilege of me to be here. But like, of course, I'm gonna speak to you. I love Die Hard with a Vengeance. Definitely should have seen it at that age, but like that was one of my favorite movies. And you were just in a Star Wars.
Right.
And so yeah, I got to speak to him, and all he wanted to do was talk about Star Wars. Like he was so happy to talk about Star Wars with me, and it was amazing. And I sort of said like, it's a shame that you didn't get to like use a lightsaber or anything. He's like, just wait, because at that point I think he knew that in the next one he was going to. He's like, I will. Don't worry, I will. But yeah, super cool. Didn't take off his sunglasses once. Didn't take off his Kangol hat once. He is exactly what you'd imagine him to be. He's super cool and really
awesome.
Really nice guy.
Ugh. Grab something.
Cool.
This is going to be a plug for our show. So, like I said, I went to Disneyland recently, and I've been trying to think of ideas to do mini episodes.
Yeah.
And I came up with one. Now I went with the intention because I have an Obi-Wan lightsaber. I have a Luke Return of the Jedi lightsaber, and I have the Episode 5 Luke lightsaber.
Yeah. Now
I was going to Disneyland with the hopes of getting a Samuel L. Jackson lightsaber, the Mace Windu lightsaber.
Yep.
It has been retired.
Oh no.
It's a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
So me and my wife were holding some lightsabers. Hers is back here. She's got the Leia lightsaber.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say you picked up a couple, didn't you?
Yeah, and so I also got an Episode 9 lightsaber, which is
nice.
Called the Rey Skywalker lightsaber. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do some reviews of Galaxy's Edge lightsaber. So they'll just be mini episodes that I put on
youtube.com/awesome
live action SW.
Can we also get some food reviews? Because that Ronto wrap looked so good.
Oh man, I wish I would have thought about the show more while I was there.
Go and enjoy it, man. It was your first one back. It was your first one back.
But I'm gonna let you guys know this. November 17th, 2021, for Life Day, I'm planning on being at Galaxy's Edge. So join me. And then I will definitely do some food reviews. I can do some food reviews while there.
Hell yeah. If any of our listeners
I'm gonna review some lightsabers
to Galaxy's Edge and go and be there for me, because I'm not going to be able to. But like that would be amazing.
Right. So maybe I can do a food review. I already ate the Ronto wrap, and it was amazing.
It
was so good.
It looked it.
And then I showed my wife a picture of a Ronto. Do you want to get into the Yoda stuff?
Yeah, let's do it.
Do you like it or do you not like it?
I have such mixed feelings.
I love it.
I
love it.
Think I like it because I was watching it, and as he walks in, you see the shadow walk in. I was in my mind. I was like, okay, right. So I'm gonna talk about the fact that I wish that this had just been a force battle, not a lightsaber fight.
Right.
And then he pulls his lightsaber out and starts doing his shit. And I'm like, this is really good. This is really fun, and I really enjoy it, and it works. It works better than the Anakin and Dooku fight, because in that, they were trying to use Christopher Lee so much that they made it dark, and it's just close up of face, close up of face, close up of face.
But I do like the way that the light
stuff,
because in the original trilogy they didn't have lightsabers.
No,
they had to digitally put them in or optically put them in. But I thought this was an interesting take on a lightsaber duel.
But in this one, they
just see the light bending
like,
over
it's not
the
like
face
now
in the dark.
when they're in the Disney era, they've got like pretty much full lightsabers that they're using.
Right.
In this, they were just using.
But you know what I love about it? The way it goes over Anakin's face and Dooku's face, it looks like the new Star Wars Disney Plus series openings.
It does. That's exactly when I first saw that on that like first episode of Mandalorian. I was like, that's what it reminded me of. Yeah.
Yeah. I like it.
It's cool.
The Yoda.
It's cool.
Listen, man. Every single time I saw this in the theater, which I was probably had to have been 8 or 9 times.
This is the most of any other prequels I saw in the theaters. Was this one?
Boy, I can't wait to talk about my 3rd time seeing Revenge of the Sith in the theater.
Teaser.
That's a teaser for whenever we watch that.
Yeah.
But every single time I saw this in the theater, when the music sort of drops out and you see the shadow of Yoda come in, just get chills.
Yeah.
Because they bring it up earlier in the movie where Obi-Wan says if you're half as whatever as blanket or whatever, you'd match Master Yoda as a swordsman.
Yeah.
So it's set up in the beginning. Good on George. It never even occurred to me that I would see Yoda in a lightsaber battle. It never occurred to me.
So
never. I don't know why.
2002, like I think was the peak time of James hunting down spoilers for movies online. Like between like this and The Matrix Reloaded and stuff, I was like trying to find like leaked scripts and all that sort of shit. And like I remember reading, I think it was on the Force.net back in the day, like all the reports about this film and how there was going to be a Yoda lightsaber fight at the end, but then there was like but it's not done yet. So depending on how close they get to the mark, there is either gonna be, and no one even knew up until like release date. They were like, that was the plan, but there is a different cut of it where it is just a force battle. And there's like if they can get it finished, it's gonna be a lightsaber duel and it's gonna be nuts. And if it's not, it's just gonna be this force battle. And it was like you went into the theater and I knew that it was coming, but I didn't know if it was gonna be there or not that first time.
I didn't know. When he walked in, I didn't know what I was expecting. And when he drops, this is all to the editing too. The editing of it is so perfect. When he drops his cane, moves his thing back, and then Force grabs it out of the air. Like you can see George making those decisions in the documentary.
Okay.
Which goes where they cover the film. I think it's one scene, or they cover. It's called Pixels to Reels, I think, something like that.
We'll watch it. We'll get there.
But he definitely talks about have him pull his thing back like a gunslinger.
I was gonna say it's very gunslinger.
And when you see that, you don't like. I just don't expect Yoda being someone who fights.
Yeah. We hadn't seen it.
you never see his lightsaber until that moment, and you're like, oh shit, Yoda has a lightsaber. Oh shit, he's gonna use the lightsaber, and then he pulls it out. He pulls it back and ignites it, and I'm like, chills every single viewing.
Yeah,
I can't believe I just watched Yoda ignite a lightsaber.
Yeah,
like, and in 2002, like this is one of the reasons why I like this movie is because there was promise in 77 of the Clone Wars. I didn't know what that was. And I know that Yoda and Obi-Wan were friends, and they were back in the Clone Wars, and it never, like, being able to see Yoda being a Jedi, like, not just by using the Force, but being a Jedi Knight. I was like, holy shit! Like, this is
why you're
awesome.
the Grandmaster,
and your emotions are swelling so much, and then just like a top, he just pulls the zip cord, and he starts flipping around like crazy, where you can't even. It's like your brain can't even process what you're watching.
No, and I think that's the thing. And I like everyone talks about the fact that so he's just faking all of the slow walking and stuff. No, that's real. This is one of those moments that he can't do this shit all the time. Like, this takes a lot out of him. Like, but it's like the right. Okay, here we go. I've got to tap into something here, and he just has to like dig deep into the Force. To be able to just let it flow through him. It is acting through him. He isn't almost even conscious of what he's doing at that point. He is just a vessel for the Force to be moving and just going where he needs to be. And I love that sort of setup too. It's that little quiet moment before the firework explodes. Yeah.
And then once it does and he's just like unleashed, it's like, oh my gosh, this is like, I was laughing not at how silly it looked. I was laughing at just the whole insanity of it. And the fact that George sort of stuck that landing for me was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I completely understand, and I wouldn't begrudge anyone for it that doesn't like it.
Right.
I'm not gonna. I can't make an argument for anyone who doesn't like it already that would make them like it. I'm not even
like it's definitely a choice. Like we've talked about swinging for the fences before,
but that's George.
This is nuts. I can't imagine Rob Coleman, the animation supervisor, like how many sleepless nights for just this sequence. Like, like you got to make Yoda fight. Like, how do you do that?
And like that, like not even just like standing there deflecting a bunch of blasters, like an insane amount of blaster bolts or something like that. Like he doesn't just stand. He's not like, they don't come to him. He brings it. And it works.
What's funny is and it still feels like Yoda.
Yes.
Like you said, especially when he's done.
There's no hesitation.
He's spent a lot of energy. And he picks up the cane and slowly walks off.
And he looks fucked. He's done. Like he needs to go and have a nap at that point. Like,
and it feels like Frank Oz's performance.
Yeah, it does. More so.
It reminds me of. Yeah. It reminds me of him lifting out the X-wing.
Yes.
Like the energy,
exertion. Yeah.
Oh my god.
But also like, there's no hesitation. As soon as Dooku threatens Obi-Wan and Anakin, which he knew, like that he's not trying to kill Obi-Wan and Anakin at that point. Like, I don't think he knew. He knew that I'm gonna get beaten here, but Yoda will not pursue me. Right. I'm basically, if I do this, he will, without any hesitation, preserve life, and he will preserve these guys over coming after me.
Right.
And so he does that, and instantly Yoda drops it, and he's like, boom, done. Right, let's get this. And then even after that, there's a bit before his ship launches, where it's like he could turn and try and drag the ship back in with the Force. No. He's like, that is done. We are done. I'm gonna look after my boys.
Right.
There's a really good book.
He'll meditate on it later.
Yeah. Thoughts and prayers, man. Thoughts and prayers. There's a really good book from the old EU. Like, it was the first of the Clone Wars novels. Shatterpoint. It's Heart of Darkness, but with Mace Windu. But he, at the start of that, because it's early in the Clone Wars, and he's talking about the Battle of Geonosis and how he had a moment there on that balcony when he puts his lightsaber to Jango. He's like, instead of doing that, I could have gone in and I could have taken out Dooku. And I would have probably got killed. Jango would have probably... he respected Jango enough to be like, he would have probably just blown me away, or any of the droids that were up there. I probably wouldn't have survived. But I could have ended all of this suffering that's going on. And it's like that thing of preventing a war before it starts by doing kind of a heinous act. Like he would have been going against the Jedi way and like basically committing a murder.
But I feel at this point, Dooku really wasn't needed anymore.
Yeah, no, I mean, Palpatine had his way. The war was on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love those clones. I have nothing else
Shinies.
to say. We didn't talk about the clones. I love.
We'll get there. I think
love
I've
the
got
clone
more
design.
I've got more to say about clones in Revenge of the Sith, and there's more clone stuff in. Revenge
But
of
as
the Sith.
far as the design for this movie, I think they're perfect. I love the sort of fin on the helmet.
You like
That's definitely
the Mark
Flash Gordon
One.
like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that armor. I think the Revenge of the Sith is my favorite version of the helmet.
Same. The Revenge of the Sith,
but-
I really like the Revenge of the Sith Mark III
Right.
stuff. Yeah, Mark II. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. It's easy to say 3 because it takes place during episode 3.
Yeah, and it they iterate.
Right. We've been going for a while on this one.
Yeah. I mean, it's a movie. The movies are always special episodes, aren't they? So
Right.
We've done a movie. We've done a documentary recently. We've done some comedy specials recently. We've done a bit of all sorts. So it's my turn on the pick.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I want to do something different, and I was looking through our list of options, and I think we should do a game show. I think we should do a kids game show. Let's do Star Wars Jedi Temple Challenge. Something that I don't think either of us have seen any of.
I've seen a bunch of it.
You've seen a bunch of it. My friend has seen a bunch of it and says it's the most charming thing in the world. He loves it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's sort of it's a show created by the sort of director of the Star Wars show.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's how about this? Why don't we tackle, because I've seen it.
Okay.
Let's watch the first 3 episodes.
I was gonna say, like, I'd say watch as much of it as you want, but like I'm gonna do at least 3. I say.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. Let's do 3 episodes. The first 3 episodes of Star Wars Jedi Temple Challenge. It's available. It's all on YouTube or on StarWars.com. Because I was having a look on Disney Plus and I was like, shit, where is it? I thought maybe they'd taken off. All on YouTube, all on Disney Plus. You can find it there. It's not region specific, so if you're in the UK, you can watch it. If you're in the US, you can watch it.
Is it on, I don't know if it's on Disney Plus on in America, but it's definitely on YouTube.
It's not on Disney Plus. It's not on Disney Plus in the UK. I know that much, but it's on YouTube. Yeah. You can watch it all on YouTube.
Cool.
And that will be in 2 weeks' time.
Right. So in the meantime, head over to I usually say liveactionstarwars.com, but as of this recording, we now have secured, thanks to you guys, youtube.com/liveactionsw.
Yep.
And you can find us on all the socials. Well, not all of them, but the good ones, the normal ones, at liveactionsw. Like, we're not on Ello.
What is Ello? No, I don't even want to know. I don't care.
We're not on
TikTok.
Not on TikTok. That might be the biggest one, but we're not on TikTok.
We're both too old to
We're on
start
YouTube.
that. Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to Jedi Temple Challenge.
Yes.
It's fun. Cool. I know there's
Can't
some stuff in episode 1 that you're gonna love.
Okay.
You're gonna love.
Cool. Looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it.
So yeah, until then, may the Force be with you.
Punch it.
My legs aren't moving. I must need maintenance.